It is great to be back. Thank you guys so much for having me. You have to pick better locations. I mean, wow, it's been so inspirational being here. I mean, just being able to soak everything in has been great. But let's start to summarize everything that we've been through, because there's been a lot today. So I want to start with, you guys had great customers here. I mean, really great stories. I mean,
yes, Liz, actually, let me say that it has been a pleasure to participate in this wonderful event, right? And it has been a pleasure first, because we are able to show how we are developing our fantastic solutions. But second, and even better, because we had our wonderful customers presenting how they are using our solutions to get their business objectives, right? So special thanks to Ipiranga and Edison for their participation. It has been really, really interesting.
Really different customers too, but really complex challenges they both have. So loved hearing from them. You guys have had a ton of announcements. Like, I think the word might be dizzying, right? I think it's fair. It's fair, right? Okay, lots of different announcements. Let's just kind of hit the top notes. What should people really be focused on? What are the top announcements that you really see as being kind of the big headlines from today?
You know, I'm really excited about apart from the location, obviously we're in Scotland, I love that. But I'm really excited about the cloud native part. You know, my team has been working very hard for the past, feels like forever, but really the past kind of 18 months to reinvent the way that we're doing that and come up with something which sits much more naturally in a Kubernetes environment. And we're really starting to see our customers, for example, Edison's, who were here, to adopt that and to gain benefit out of moving on to that Kubernetes platform. And that's something that we hope to accelerate over the coming period. We also have functionality for practitioners, functionality for developers, and the beginning of our CX, customer experience integration journey. So there's a whole lot of interesting things we've been doing. But I'm going to hit cloud native as maybe it's the engineer in me, right? I'm not sure. But
You're loud. No, listen, it's wildly important though, right?
Yeah.
Because I think the nature of business today is all about flexibility
Yes.
in the service of acceleration.
Well, and you look at what our customers do with the software, they
Right.
depend on it. It's mission critical, right? And the platforms that we've used for the past 20 years are not the platforms that are going to take us forwards. So the reinvention onto the cloud and onto Kubernetes is the next generation of that bulletproof platform that our customers are going to depend on, and we have to get that right.
Right.
I think it's really important that you talk about a bulletproof platform, right?
Yes.
Because I think it becomes a need, because I think there's a lot of exhaustion out there, right? There's a lot of exhaustion out there from customers who keep getting told, oh, you've got to re-platform. No, it needs to be this. Now we need to come over here. Hey, everyone go look at this new
100%.
shiny thing, right? And the reality is that growth can't happen, recovery can't happen unless you know you're on solid ground.
100%.
And it's really interesting that today's solid ground is something that can move a lot,
Yeah,
right? So I think there's a lot of irony there, but that's the reality. We need to be able to be agile, shift and move. Agile is actually a thing. It's a strategy. 100%. It's not a checklist, right? And so I really like that. I think that's a really great takeaway.
Yeah.
It's the foundation. It's the foundation on which everything goes.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I think there's also something else, and you know, David mentioned one of the themes around CX, right? We're perpetually in this environment where, and if I think about, you know, what customers really want to do, we don't live in a headed only or a headless only world, right?
Right.
Right. And customers need to make a decision based upon their specific, you know, digital experience that they're individually building. And you've got to do both. You just can't do one or the other. Yeah. And at a certain point, you know, from a practitioner perspective, you want to go faster. And for you, that means citizen development. If you're more IT and developer focused, maybe that's faster on pro code with React. Or maybe that's adopting some, you know, low-code framework to do that as well.
Or having the flexibility to change your strategy because your customer's changing, your market's changing. So I love that. I love that.
To keep your eyes on the prize, right?
Yeah.
No person out there in the world interacting with one of our customers' services talks to an API. Use a website, use a mobile app. I don't care as an end user about headless. Headless is an architectural choice. It's all about where control is. We have to support those preferences that customers have. But at the end of the day, our focus is on the experiences that our customers can build.
Right. Exactly. And you know, Liz, privacy, security, extensibility, you know, serving those government regulated industries and, you know, healthcare companies is our mission, right? That's where our sweet spot.
I was going to say, that's really like, that's the foundation.
Yes, exactly. And that's where the complexity of digitizing those business processes comes in,
Right.
and those modalities of integration, and giving people more options to build
Right.
and to integrate becomes so important. And in
Right.
these days, everyone wants to move to more event-driven, real-time type solutions.
Yeah. But isn't it funny that we want to talk about real time,
Yes.
right? But we talk about real time, which is how our organization, the thing I tend to see a lot is real time gets defined as how quickly we, the organization, can get from point A to B, or how,
Right, yeah.
how quickly our platforms can integrate, or where our data can move. But meanwhile, our customer is sitting there like, I
Yes.
wanted the answer now, right?
Yeah, yeah,
I
exactly.
wanted the better experience now because
Yeah.
I can get a better experience someplace else. So why don't I just go there? So I think that also goes back to this combination of talking about, it's why we talk about cloud, it's why we talk about low code, it's why even marketers are having conversations about cloud, about low code, no code, about where we need to be in this strategy, because it's all about being able to reach our customer and those experiences in their time.
Absolutely.
As opposed to us defining what real time is, right? It's not about the enterprise's ability to define that.
And it also sort of predicates the sort of idea that, you know, at the end of the day, if you want to do anything, it's really driven by the data and the insight, right?
Right.
Insights
Yes,
for
yes, yes.
personalization,
Right.
content recommendations, and really making sure that if self-service is the way you define your experience,
Yeah.
how do you make that rich and rewarding for them,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Right, because, you know, your strategy may be more diverse than just purely the contact center. So
Right.
how do you do that?
Right, right.
Carlos, what are you
Yes,
saying on that?
I would like to remark that on top of these things that you are commenting, right, I see common points in our customers, right? And we have seen in these days here, all of them are going deeper in the digitalization of the critical processes, right, that they cover.
Right.
All of them are worried about maximizing the revenue operations coming from the digital platform, right?
Yes.
All of them are worried on optimizing the way they communicate to their customers
yeah.
through marketing automation, right? And all of them are worried about time to market in the sense, if I need to build an application, if I need to solve any issue, I will need quick, right? We had this conversation yesterday. So
Right.
these common trends, I think that we are giving a deep answer in the investment that we are doing in our product. And I think this is very important to remark.
Yes, exactly. One of the things that came through that same conversation, Carlos, was really interesting was the whole brand experience as well, right? Consistency, you know, in the content delivery, you know, in terms of the written word between every single experience. The brand identity is so important for them, right? And when they have all those channels, how do you ensure that?
Yeah.
Like you said, how do we go faster and still maintain that
little bit different, right?
authenticity? Yeah.
But it's a little bit different. You and I had a conversation earlier about everything feeling like it was back to the future, right? Like we were all going like personalization, brand standardization, but it's a little bit different. Like it's
Omnichannel, remember?
Right, well, you're right, but it's like, think about fashion, right? Like bell bottoms are always going to come back. We can't stop it, but it's going to be a little bit different every time it does. And I think that's what we're seeing. Right, we're seeing that in personalization. We're seeing it just be a little bit different. We're seeing experiences being, but when you're talking about brand and that standardization, it's not about the brand police that comes through a dam and says, no, you can only use this one blue logo. It's about, how do I make sure that like the demo I thought was so great. Like, how do I make sure that
didn't
my
talk about the demo
customer,
at all
I know,
yet.
like my
How can that
customer who is into outdoor travel doesn't get the beach photo. Right? Like, how do we make sure that they get the
But
outdoor photo?
In that sense, right, and in this back to the future is that our customers, they have learned from failures, right?
Yes.
And they are applying now that learning on doing it better.
Right.
Let me recover another
Right.
sentence that I told you before, right? Before running, you need to walk,
Right.
So in some cases, we are all the learning when we were crawling. Now we are putting into practice to start running, right? So this is, I think, a common trend that we see in the market, right?
Yes, there's a maturity.
Exactly.
Right? I mean, we've
Yes.
had many iterations. I mean, we've been talking about personalization for as long as I've been working in IT, and that's a year or two.
Just like,
you know?
it's a couple,
It's a couple of years.
months, right?
But no, but we've been talking about personalization for 20 years,
Yeah.
right? And it's always been something that's just out of reach. You know, and perhaps with this
Right.
focus on data, like you were talking about, and you know, the focus on the customer experience now, maybe that is something that is getting closer and is nearer at hand than it's ever been.
Well, I think because we're not talking about personalization as a destination anymore.
Right.
I think we always used to talk about it like, I'm going to personalize it,
good
and I'm
point.
finally going to get to personalization if I could just get my Excel spreadsheet to work. You know, like it was
exactly.
that, it was like that bad had like random acts of personalization across the one mailer you had. But I
Yes.
think now personalization is kind of a combination of things, right? It's about that
Yes.
name, but it's also about understanding that the customer has been here before. So like in the demo, right?
Yes.
Hey, this is a known customer. They already have an account with us. So we can actually
even
show
before they log in.
Right, before they log
Exactly.
in, we can show them the right APR. We can show them the right. We
Right,
can
right,
show
right.
them the right card. We can
Right,
show them the
yes,
right
exactly.
lifestyle image. We
Or the
know
right
so much
offer,
about
for
them.
that matter.
Right, exactly.
I don't think they even mentioned it in the demo. You know, the demo was using Unica Interact as part of how it was delivering the personalization part of it.
Right.
And you know, they showed so many good things. They didn't say that product name. You know. And,
Yeah.
And you know, we've got some great options for that, and that's part of where we're going to take the products in the future in terms
Yeah.
of how they can come together and how we use the phrase better together.
Yeah, yeah.
I think an important word that you mentioned is value, right?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, right now it's not personalization for personalization. It's
Agree with that.
personalization
Yeah.
for value.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
now, and right now, we all the players, all the stakeholders, we understand that, right?
Yeah.
And our customers understand that and know how to apply it, right?
Right.
So it's the right moment to get that step for
I
the
think
maturity.
that I
value
agree.
is also that step to growth.
Yes.
Right? Because
Yes.
that's what that's the mandate for everyone across CX, right? So when you start to talk about people who might be service centric or sales centric
Yes.
or marketing centric, everyone's looking at growth because as we start, to kind of now accelerate out of a pandemic, right? First, the pandemic, it was like, how would I hold everything down, right? Like, how does everything stop shaking?
And some of our customers had to react very quickly during the pandemic.
Like insurance, I can't imagine how fast people had to make that pivot.
Well,
of-
we have a lot of government customers as well
Right.
who were severely impacted in terms of increased traffic and in terms of the
Right.
need to move services online very quickly.
Right. How do you get people paid? How do you get,
that.
like the
Exactly.
fundamental questions of how we've answered those now. And I think
It
people.
feels like ancient history now, but it was only...
Doesn't it?
Yes, like
Yeah, it
even
was-
the beginning of
But
this
it
year.
set a new expectation,
That's it.
right? It set a new expectation of, well, why can't we keep transformation rolling
100%.
at that
Exactly.
ridiculously fast pace? And so that time to value, what you just talked about your customers being able to know, I need to roll up a new product. I need to start a new way for my customers to
Right.
engage with me. I need to find a new way for my employees
and
to work. It has to
Yeah,
happen
it's-
fast.
And
Exactly.
your mention of value is very important because, I mean, the next couple of years are going to be very difficult economically.
Yes.
And
Globally.
Globally.
Good point.
And, the investments, we can't make investments, our customers can't make investments in these things for their own sake. They have to have almost like a near-term payoff.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. There was one other thing, just sort of coming back to what we also delivered, right? Big continued focus on digital asset management as an example, right? We
Yeah.
got great feedback from our customers, really bringing the Wickham capabilities with the DAM together and deploying them
Yeah.
in anger
Yeah.
and thinking about other places they could use them. And, just really think about how can I make this more extensible to my organization?
Right.
Oh, 100%.
Right.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Right.
So we've seen that come
That
through.
and you get to say damn all the time. Which is
Damn,
always,
yes.
Right, which is always fun. I mean, it's always a damn good conversation, don't you think? I mean, yeah, see,
Boom, boom, yeah,
it's
no.
fun. It's always fun. But I think that's a really great point. And I think the other thing that came through loud and clear for me, certainly through the customer stories, which I thought was really interesting, but also through the act of the demo was, you had practitioners sitting live, building things, working together to solve a problem, but that's also experience.
Yes.
Yeah,
And I
it
think
is,
we
yeah.
tend to overlook that because there's like the big sexy experience of like, we just rolled out a credit card, that's awesome, we love it.
Yeah.
But
That doesn't happen that often, right?
right. But the fact that you can also have a really easy and accessible tool that people can use.
Yes.
And we were talking about this earlier today, right? People are leaving their jobs in record numbers, right?
Tell me
Like the
about it.
great resignation is real. It's
is a
here.
thing. It
It's
is a
happening.
thing.
And it's going to get worse. And I think that's what people aren't necessarily prepared for. And people are looking for tools that their organizations put in front of them that help them be successful.
It's doing more with less.
Yes.
Yes, exactly.
Right?
Always.
And on that theme, it's also one of the things that we showed in the demo was the ability to tap into our middleware, which we're making ubiquitous across both our low-code platform and our
Right.
digital
Yes,
experience
yes, yes.
platform, because people want to just build the integration once
Right.
and reuse it in multiple places
Right.
and then create this common API infrastructure so they can scale it. Because you know what? As they start to abstract their systems of engagement from their systems of record at the back end, this becomes the layer that abstracts them from all the noisiness
right.
that goes on behind the scenes as they
Absolutely.
And that
switch.
abstraction layer is so important, right? Because I think we're very used to talking about it when we talk about data.
Yeah.
we're not very used to talking about it when we start to talk about assets,
Right.
content, experiences coming together.
Yes, yes,
but
yes.
that's what's going to accelerate all of this.
I agree.
Right, is being able to have those layers of abstraction, but also having that solid foundation.
Yes.
We keep coming back to this, right? It's that solid foundation, that composable architecture that allows all of this to then grow and flex. And I mean, customers, I mean, talk about the ability to move quickly, react quickly, strategize even faster.
Yeah.
That really came through loud and clear.
And also, I would like to say that what I'm seeing them is expanding, right? Expanding and
Right.
expanding functionally, right? If we take into consideration the case of Edison, they have redefined the customer experience for them, right? And guess what? Revenue operations are going to be included in the new solution, right? Not only revenue operations, also the digital analytics, right? So we are going more and more to this kind of customer experience full solution,
Right.
In the
Right.
confluence of different components. In the case of Ipiranga also, in their case, they have a very solid one, a solution, B2C, B2B, also a providers portal, right? Guess what? Now digital analytics is their mantra for the next year, right?
Right.
So this
Right.
kind of expansion, I think, also a very remarkable trend, right?
The
We need
fact
to
that
talk
they
about.
have the capacity to look at expansion as part of their strategy, I think that's incredible because it means they've already solved some of those big transformation challenges.
Exactly. And they see
Right?
the value and they want
Right.
more value.
Right.
There was
Right.
more value, and also something you said earlier, which was really interesting, which is really about, there is the what they want and what they need.
Right.
Right? And the need part of it-
Always, right.
Yes, and you talked about revenue optimization, which is all part of what you said, Carlos. You need that digital analytics to give you that feedback.
But I think it's interesting because I've started peeking at survey data that I haven't even let anyone look at. So it's like the real sneak peek is coming
Go
through
on,
this.
share,
this
dish
I
it.
know.
Good.
I know. No one's watching, right? I can just go ahead and tell you three. It's gonna be
That's
fine.
it.
Okay.
don't-
Yeah,
the word.
it's fine. But, when I've asked chief digital marketing, sales, service officers, kind of people in the thick of this digital customer experience transformation. And you ask kind of what's the laundry list of tools you're looking at? And it's like the typical things. Like it's going to be like CDP, marketing automation, revenue optimization, revenue tools. Interesting. They're looking at things like CPQ, which who knew people were going to be looking at configure, price, quote. But it's a great customer experience engine, and it's probably the most crystal clear signal that you get from your customer. So why not look at it, right?
Yeah.
But when you start to ask, okay, like what are you really looking at?
So what are you actually going to
Like,
do?
what are you going to do, and what's
yeah.
actually going to move the needle for your mandate and for revenue?
Desire and action, right?
It tends to come down to revenue optimization tools
Right.
and now digital experience tools.
Yeah.
Because there's this growing understanding that it's not just about delivering a digital experience, it's about this kind of massive panoply of digital experiences that have to somehow begin to intersect with our customers' experiences.
Right.
And if our customer is defining their own experiences, how do our digital experiences
Yes,
meet them where
exactly,
they need to be?
Right.
And that's a really hard kind of journey to start to map for themselves. So that time to value, dreaming bigger,
Yes.
doing bigger.
But sorry to recover another word you said. Tools? You really talk about tools with your customers? I'm sorry. We talk about solutions, right?
Right.
And I want to bring here to the table what is our model of engagement with our customers, right? We like to engage with them in a consultative way to understand what are their problems.
Yeah.
What do you need a solution for, right?
And I got to tell you,
not about the
I'm
tool.
gonna
It's
give
not
away.
about the tool.
I'm gonna give away the behind the scenes thing here. I'm really giving it away. You guys are never gonna invite me back now because I'm airing all the dirty laundry.
Go.
Here's the thing that I thought was so interesting when your customers were here, and that no one got to see because it was all behind the scenes. They kept coming back to you guys saying, okay, we have this other challenge, we have this other issue. Like they're proactively coming to you to say, okay, solve this problem next. It was almost like a
Exactly.
dare,
Yeah.
right? Like they're daring you to solve some of their big problems. But that's a really great dynamic to have with your
Well,
customers.
actually, more than a dare, it's a real pleasure, right?
Yeah,
Because
that's
it's-
true.
That is true.
Yeah.
It's really creating a team with your customer,
Yeah.
right? That is our aspiration.
And why are we
Actually,
here? We're here to solve problems.
Yeah.
Exactly.
We make things, we solve problems. It's
Right. But I mean, let's be honest. Let's be honest here. A lot of times when customers come to their vendor partners, sometimes those problems that they're looking to solve might be technology problems. The problems that I kept hearing people coming to you guys with while we've been here have been real business problems. It's been that like, okay, like now what do I do to my customer? Okay, now how do I then add this new, how do I add a new functionality?
No, I
Hey,
agree,
people are
yes.
talking about this new video, or people are talking about a new file format.
Yeah.
How do I keep extending that?
I have to tell you, I love to hear you saying those words because that means that we are doing something good. Right? That means that we are doing something good, right?
Check to the post.
Exactly, right?
Phew.
And I think our model, I mean, it's almost in a way, is, you know, certainly you could work with, if you can afford a GSI, that's great.
Right,
But also
right.
you could work with us and your you know, in-country SI.
Yeah.
And together we can, you know, three in the box,
Exactly.
we can work together. We can hit those business problems
Yeah,
hard one
yeah.
by one. And we can also help you with your digital maturity, as you were
Right.
saying, David, moving out of wave 2 into wave 3
Sure.
of that sort of
Right.
digital first.
But I think it's very important within the engineering organization to ensure that, you know, we are not just behind the scenes.
Yeah.
You know, that we have people throughout my team, you know, in all geographies, interacting directly with customers to understand, you know, it's a win-win situation. It's a win for the customer primarily, first and foremost, because they have direct route into engineering. They can feed us requirements. They
Right,
can let us know
right.
when something's not as they would wish, because that does happen. But
No.
it's amazing, isn't it? But also the other win for us is
Yeah.
that I have an engineering team then that is directly connected to some of those sources of requirements
Right.
and can validate what they're doing.
Right, it's like
you
the
know.
best focus group for product development
Yeah,
ever,
absolutely,
right? Because you're hearing it
absolutely.
right from the customer, who's
Absolutely.
hearing it from their customer.
Absolutely. And it's
right?
it's really it genuinely is a win-win situation for
Yeah.
us, you know.
Yeah.
And the customers that have those relationships really appreciate it.
And that's what I'm certainly seeing in the marketplace too, right? Is that gap of time and that gap of access between the customers, the end customers' need that your customers are facing, right? That sliver, and then the gap between your customer and the developers, that time compression is really crushing in quite quickly, where you have to iterate immediately because at the end of the day, that end customer with their wallet, they are walking faster
Yes.
and taking their business away faster. There are less excuses.
Right, the
There's less
switching
rounds of
costs are
apology.
actually lower, right?
Yeah,
Unless
absolutely.
you're some of the largest
Right.
customers. But I would sort of bring back to something that you were saying, Carlos. You know, we could use a sporting metaphor, right? But when you start thinking in the context of the solution, the CX solution, then every one of us, whether we're DX or commerce, marketing automation, or whatever, we're part of a team, right?
Right,
And it's
right.
just, it doesn't matter which entry
Right.
point you start at, we're going to help our customer. And it's our job, development and product management,
Yeah.
to work with them to figure out what are those pieces to be able to make those plays to be efficient for the customer.
And I think the commonality, and when even last time I was with you guys and we were high above the clouds in Malibu and having, you know, great conversations there.
I was sorry to miss it.
I know, sorry that, you know, we bring you out to the Scottish Highlands
Well,
instead.
we have clouds.
Yeah, we have clouds here. We have clouds. But I think what's so interesting in talking to those customers, let's fast forward several months. Let's talk about these customers. Let's talk about kind of the solutions that you're bringing. You guys are talking about solving some of the most complex problems
Yes.
in some of the most highly regulated, like this is
We
about
don't just-
complexity at a
Anybody can build a
very
web-
different,
Anyone
you know,
can build a website.
right.
And not all websites are equal. And if you look at what our
Right.
customers do, you know, there's always a login, there's always applications, there's always
It's a business
processes.
solution.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Like it's
a business
security to the
solution.
nth degree. I mean, that was one of the things. It was funny because when I was watching the demo, I was like, this is a credit card company, right? Like this is a demo about a financial institution. It's not just. I'm not just throwing up APRs and here's your account number and here's how much money you have. Like that is not what we're doing here because that is regulated. That is not allowed.
Oh, absolutely.
That's an incredibly complex process, but it was a really easy page to build, and it was a really easy experience to envision.
No, that's
and you
quite
could
right.
see the people around the table being like, well, what does someone want to see? What would someone want to see on this type of page? And I thought that even having the capacity to ask that question in a team and be able to deliver it and then say, oh, no, that's not what we wanted. Let's do it this way.
Agree.
That fluidity is not something that a lot of, in a tool-centric world, you would have access to. And that's what I thought really came through.
Totally agree, Liz. And at this point, we were commenting before how important it is to be able to do storytelling, right?
Yeah.
And to
You had a great
translate-
phrase about that.
Exactly.
Transmedia storytelling, it's my favorite thing to talk about. Welcome to my TED Talk, everyone. Yeah.
when you mix ambition,
Yeah.
vision, setting up a vision with storytelling, then you are building this kind of journey, right? The way that we need to
Right.
go to get to the end, right? And
But
I think this is very important.
Yeah, and I think when you start talking about digital experiences as opposed to like digital experience, which I know everyone loves to talk about.
But I wonder how long we're going to keep qualifying it. How long are we going to keep using that
it's-
adjective?
Well, yeah, for as long as people. Well, I guess isn't like new media now print? Haven't we cycled back in Carlos's world where we're back to the future? Because I think print feels new again, right? And people are investing in it, which is
Wow.
crazy. They're personalizing it, but we're back to that, right? Where now all of a sudden new media equals print. Again, I can't wrap my head around it
Bell-bottoms, as you say,
fully.
you know.
But storytelling is fundamentally different because we're not telling the story on the web page. We're telling the story across a website,
journey, right?
onto a mobile
Yes,
device.
exactly.
We're telling different parts and chapters
And
of the
ideally
story.
in an end-to-end process,
Right.
business process, because that is
Right.
where really is the value,
Yeah,
right? So
and
this
so-
is the real storytelling.
Yeah.
Yes, and maybe that's a segue, Liz, to talk about, so we talked about Orion, which is the release this
Right.
year.
But what's coming next?
Yeah, so we have...
Which constellation are we going to next, Andrew?
I know.
Well, let's go to Sirius, why not?
Yes.
Yes, and like you said, if you're a large organization, getting analytics about your content
Yes.
matters massively inside your
And not
organization.
vanity analytics about my content.
Yes, exactly,
Like
as we were
actual
saying.
analytics about my content.
David did this, he did that,
Right.
his content is distributed in all these different areas. I need to make a bulk update, right? My license for this piece of content is expired, right?
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Being able to see, because here's the thing. I love that he keeps coming back to this because I'm going to pick on it for just a second. When you
We know
talk
he's gonna
about,
go, yeah.
I know, he's going to talk about the process. He says it so much better than I do. About processes, I think that a lot of times organizations make the mistake of applying technology to an old process, which just makes it a faster old process.
Buggy whip, right?
Right. But what you're talking about is taking a lot of the friction out of the processes that still work.
Exactly.
Yes,
Right.
exactly.
So when you start to look at rights managed assets,
Right.
they still work. We still need them. They're a reality in our business. How do we take the friction out of it? How do we have the analytics to know that removing that friction also helped us deliver something faster? We got to time to
exactly.
value faster. And seeing all of that is important.
And also something you said earlier as well, Liz, is, there's no point fighting a religious war, right? Between the people who want to go headed and the people who want to go headless. So let's do both. That's
Right.
part
And you
of this.
can have both. It's
Yes.
okay. I think we're trying, like, we're in this weird cycle right now where people are like, you don't use headless.
Oh, I've sat.
You're like, wait a minute, like, oh my God, why do I feel bad about it? You've been to those, right? And you kind of are like, why do I have to feel bad about that? You don't.
You don't,
You don't.
no.
You can be hybrid. You can be
yes,
headed. You can be
exactly.
headless. The thing you can't be is ignorant of the fact that experiences are the customers to have.
Well, absolutely.
Right, it's not the
yes.
command and
That's it.
control
The
model
customer
of
doesn't care.
old sites.
There's always a head,
Right.
right? It's a question of who built it.
Right. Can you imagine a day when our customers are like, oh, this is not a headless website. I don't like it.
I would-
Like,
Exactly.
like,
They
no
don't
one-
care, right?
No one's going to say that.
Yeah.
They're going to use Postman to go and interact with that.
Right, they're going to be like, oh, this is not decoupled from a presentation layer. Isn't going to be a conversation.
Patch for that one.
If they do that with my flight flying home, I wouldn't fly, right? Absolutely. Don't worry, the
love it.
pilot's using Postman. We're okay.
Right, we're okay. We're okay. It's all right. They're phoning it in. So let me ask you this: as you start to look down the roadmap, as you start to look at all of the new star constellations, I appreciate that you guys went with constellation because constellation
Wow,
research.
I wonder when you were
Thank
gonna
you
say that,
guys.
Liz.
Thank you guys. Thanks all of you for just giving us a slice of that. That's awesome. On behalf of all of my colleagues, what is the thing that? What's the most important thing that you're looking for? What do you really want your customers? They've watched this. What do you want them walking away thinking?
So we talked about how the past was about getting to that cloud native platform. I want to pick on something that was in your presentation about customer experience as a team sport.
Right.
Right. And on your chart, you had all those faces and the different products and the different roles. And our customers, when they build customer experiences with our software, it's never just one person or one department that's working on it. It's really people drawn from across the organization.
Yeah.
And so, when you look at the things that we're talking about for the future, a lot of it is about bridging between practitioners and developers and other customer experience professionals who may only tangentially be involved with the software. You know, if I ask my boss to approve some content, he does not need to come and learn how to use the content management system. Or he does not want to, he should not have to learn, right?
Right.
You know, it was like, yeah, it's fine, send me a screen print.
Right.
You know, but
it's being able to bring that team together, and I think you're absolutely right. You know,
But,
exactly.
one
what's your
observation,
takeaway?
yes, to your question, right? And this goes deeper on the roadmap and the new functionalities. If you ask me what I want for the future, I want to be even more a trusted advisor for my customers, right?
Yeah.
What I see is the customers are asking more and more to be prescriptive on how they need to do the things to achieve their objectives, right?
it.
So maybe it's too deep, my comment, right? It's
No,
not
I like
about
it.
the roadmap,
I like it
but-
because here's how I'm going to wrap us up, right? Here's how we're going to wrap us up. We need to be thinking about how we bring our solutions together so we can actually play as a team sport.
Yes.
yes,
We have to be able to have those be functionally bound together across composable architectures that allow for that
100%.
flexibility with
Yes,
containers.
yes,
And we need to be able to be there and dare our partners to ask different questions and ask those harder questions.
great.
Does that
Yeah.
sound fair? Like that's the summary of today?
Yeah, I think so.
I'll take it.
I like it.
Yeah, I'll
I
take
like it. Well, thank you guys again. for
Lovely
having me.
summary, Liz.
Yes, thank you,
Thank you.
Liz.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for making it a great session.